to the channels Tapa Olho Azul and Blue Eye Patch, and today I'll keep the reading of my book Clouders, May Pop Beyond the Clouds, available on Amazon. So let's keep with the chapter 3 and begin the chapter 4 too. So it was morning and the alarm clock was ringing. I thought for a moment before getting up and thinking about the dream I had just had. It seemed more like a memory of something lived than a dream. The nature of dreams promotes this kind of a sensation. But it was more alive and I had a purpose. I finally got up. I could smell the breakfast. My mother made sure to wake up early and make coffee for the family. It was a way to start the day well. My father liked it too. However, going to the bathroom to take my bath and get ready, I thought about that routine. Work, study, all effort would be included in what was under discussion in my debates with Marcos about whether or not we were slaves to an oppressive system. The parallel I had made with Hunger Games seemed exaggerated at the time, but I thought we were being placed in an arena too, the arena of the labor market, and being indoctrinated to study and work hard from childhood, to compete aggressively, to be the winners, the representatives of the nation in the future. But that future, I finished packing. I wanted to turn on the computer to search more about two things: messages through the subconscious and about oppression, work and voluntary servitude. I'm sure there would be a lot on the second issue. For the first one, I imagined some science fiction of those very old-fashioned and unrealistic. But I did not have time in the morning to do that. I went down to have breakfast with my parents and went to school. I thought quickly of Marcos and remembered that he was the one who went against my text. Speaking of oppression, what if the message is true and Marcos is one of the people who would try to stop me from writing? It was really hard being a simple, normal girl that morning. I was feeling a real divergence. That is the end of the chapter 3. Now we'll move on to chapter 4. Chapter 4. 7 months, one more film, and all is well. Or is it? Note: much has happened in this space of time, but as my story converges at this point in my life, I have decided to continue to count from here, because I can go back and forth with more security. It was one of the things I've learned. I was at the movies again. My hand was in another hand, but it was no longer Marcos. This new person in my life has an essential role to play in what's to come. But in a moment I will speak of him. The film was The film was the debut of Divergent, the first in a series of films based on the books by the same name by Veronica Roth. Similar to what we had seen in Hunger Games, the central character was a woman, Tris, who in an oppressive environment becomes the expression of rebellion and contestation. In this case, in a depressing futuristic society, people are directed to different factions from an examination done through drug-induced mental simulations. The result of the exam indicates which faction the person will go to. Tris does not fit into any of the factions, thus being divergent, which makes her a risk to the system, but evidently an expression of individuality, autonomy, and freedom. If the subject of empowered woman was on the rise 2 years ago when they released the first Twilight, it was now at fashion in the teen media. The girls felt more and more the owners of their noses and their wills. I watched the film and felt the affection of my companion, thinking about all the things that we lived in these 7 months. If before I felt divergent and somewhat distressed by this, as the character Tris in the movie I was seeing, at least in the beginning of the film, now I felt confidence and certainty in the paths I took. The first event to have played a major role in this 7-month period was my parents' wedding anniversary party. It was in May, as I had promised to Mark. He was invited to come and participate. The voices in my memory still resonate with the question of why he had much. He made such a point of coming to a party with most of the presents being strangers to him. I spent the day helping my mother in the preparations. My father stayed out of the house solving other things. Settlement would be for them to be free of obligations for at least an hour before the guests began to arrive, so they could rest a little before becoming the center of attention for about 50 guests. I was happy for them, since maintaining a firm marriage for more than 15 years, those days was difficult. They were both very dedicated and disciplined people, so they have overcame all difficulties. I imagine that my birth about 15 years before that party was a difficult period, because who can keep a good mood to work so much and still raise a child? But then there they were. There they were, ready to celebrate 20 years of unity. That was the reading for today. I hope you have enjoyed and keep enjoying the reading of this book, Clouders, very popular on the clouds. So keep on and subscribe to both channels. Bye bye.